My dad ruined my childhood by choosing substances over our family, but after we escaped, we realized the truth was even much worse than that. I was 12 when my dad begged my mom to let him be homeless. You see, my mom was working 80 hours a week, and it was their millionth argument about how my dad does jack shit all day and needs to start pulling his weight. Up until this point, I barely knew who my mom was, just that she was the only reason I was alive. As for my dad, I thought he was a superhero. A superhero that does nothing but drink beer and watch recorded NBA games from the 80s, that is. I had no idea how dysfunctional our family really was, but this time during their routine argument, instead of defending himself or promising he'd figure stuff out eventually, he told her she deserved better. I watched the whole thing from afar, and it was the first time I had seen my mom cry. "Why can't you just be the man I fell in love with?" she yelled, her voice filled with exhaustion. "Please just move on." My father slurred his words before burying his face in his hands. Meanwhile, I just silently sobbed, wondering if I was the reason mommy and daddy were fighting all the time. That's when my mom did something I never thought I'd see. She gave up. "Okay," she whispered, before trudging up the stairs. My dad just sighed, and his body convulsed for a few seconds as if he was crying. But then he downed another beer and continued to watch NBA. Me and my mom moved out a few months later. I thought things would be harder, gloomier, but I was disgustingly wrong. My mom managed to cut her hours down to almost half, and for the first time ever, we were hanging out every weekend. She knew what topics I was doing in school, and even learned my favorite food. Her eyes were filled with a spark I'd never seen before, and I felt like the luckiest girl in the entire world. Then came my 13th birthday. I begged my mom to invite my dad to the dinner. Her eyes fell to the floor with disappointment. "Are you sure you don't want something else, honey? I finally have enough money to afford the Lego set you always wanted." "I'm sure." I cut her off. I sort of knew that I was being selfish, but I just missed my daddy. Well, not really. I also had a plan to get my parents back together. On the day my mom drove my dad, he looked effing awful. He smelled like sewage and his hands were covered in this ashy grime. On his back was a 5-tier backpack, filled to the brim with what looked like trashy clothes. I didn't even want to hug him, and so when he arrived, he immediately showered. "Mom, you have to leave the house so I can decorate. It's a surprise," I convinced her. She smiled and said, "Okay, honey, whatever you say," before leaving the house. The second the door closed, I hatched my plan. My parents told me they had their first date in a diner on Valentine's Day, so I decorated every corner of the wall with the decorations I thought they'd have back then. Red hearts, streamers, the works. I then used my phone to have Uptown Girl playing, their favorite song to play on the old jukeboxes. I even made a stack of fluffy pancakes with extra maple syrup and a homemade Oreo milkshake, because that was their go-to order. I didn't even invite anyone else to come. So by the time I was done, I woke my dad up from his nap and called my mom to come home. They both entered the kitchen at around the same time. I expected cartoonish love hearts to fill my mom's eyes, for my dad to take my mom's waist and waltz around the kitchen, both falling in love all over again. But instead, my mom pinched the bridge of her nose. "Oh, brother," my dad muttered, before opening the fridge to look for a beer. "So are you guys getting back together now?" I yelled, my tone cheery and naive. They sat me down on the couch. "Honey, our separation was never because of anything you did, and I'm sorry that you ever thought that," my mom said. "But Mom, why can't we just be happy together? Listen to your mother," my dad interrupted. But I didn't. I didn't want to. Why should I listen to her? She made you homeless. Of course, looking back, I completely regret how I reacted. At the time, I was simply just saying the first thing that came into my 13-year-old mind, but instead of getting mad, my mom just smiled. "I'm sorry, honey, but let's enjoy your birthday." I was pretty stubborn on doing anything but enjoying it, and that's when she pulled out the Lego Creator Expert roller coaster set, aka my dream gift. Immediately, I was distracted and became immediately engrossed into building. Yes, I was later diagnosed with autism. So while my dad kicked his feet up on the table and tried to load up old NBA recordings, my mom helped me. It was like I hadn't even said anything before. She always gave me so much grace. We were an hour in when I noticed a weird smell coming from the living room. It was like vinegar and plastic. My mom went to check it out. I heard a scream. When I ran in, I saw my dad wide-eyed, like a deer caught in headlights. In his hand was what looked like a burnt spoon, and in the other was a loaded syringe. "Please leave me alone," he pleaded, and proceeded to shoot up the entire thing right in front of me. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. My friend's words echoed in my head all day. "My mom says your dad's dangerous." The worst part was, she wasn't wrong. That night, my mom got a call from her boss, Diane. I could only hear my mom's side of the conversation, but I could tell something was wrong by the way her shoulders tensed, muscles coiling like springs. "No, I understand. Yes, we're being careful. I appreciate your concern." When she hung up, she sat beside me on the couch where I was working on a new Lego architecture set, the Empire State Building half